how data is used has become a really key issue in mainstream media as well, because of following Cambridge Analytica scandal and the recent GDPR updates. In the kind of automotive industry, particularly amongst sort of fleet and leasing companies, there's real nervousness that the OEMs now are realising the value of data, and they might restrict their access and various things. As DOVU, you come from a kind of different angle entirely, which is that actually the data generated by your journeys belongs to you as a driver or a participant in that journey. But you've worked with some of the hugest OEMs, so JLR obviously, and your recent trial with BMW. Kind of how did that come about?
I think the discussion, or the ongoing discussion against sort of, what is private data, what is data that's needed to provide better safety for the car, that the OEMs need in order to deliver their product or their service, against what the driver is sort of giving away, is ongoing and is yet to be determined. I think that the challenge about data regarding what petrol station I stop at, how many people are in my car, what journey I've been on, how often I stop, what route I take, undoubtedly is personal private data. And how you share that and who you choose to share that with, I think that should be under your control, as an individual. And GDPR goes some way, I think, to sort of to dealing with that. From our perspective, we're not jumping, in front of data owners and sort of saying you need to do this, or coming up with a firm opinion to sort of say this is how data should be used. What we are doing is creating a system where you can be rewarded for sharing that data, and whether that's if you're the data owner, so if you are an OEM and you perceive that data to be yours, but you like to reward your customer to encourage the sharing of that data, then we'll facilitate that. But ultimately, the discussion about who owns it and who doesn't own it, that's outside of our pay grade. So for our side, we're focused in really on probably creating some new data points. So if we can tokenize behavior and nudge people using sort of nudge theory and gamification, great sort of buzzword bingo if you're playing it, to do certain things that they're not used to do. So if you look at transport and how we go about our daily life, we normally take the same journey to work that we always do, using the same form of transport that we always use. And if we drive into work, we may drive past a great little yellow bike that's there, and we go, oh, that's really cool, they've got those yellow bikes you can use by an hour, as we drive past and struggle to find a parking place. Sometimes we need a nudge in order to change our behavior. And just because the technology is there and the services are there and all these proliferation of mobility solutions come out, you need a nudge to get out of your little comfort zone and to do something different. So what we do is we use tokens as a way of nudging the individual to try something different. And that creates its own data set. As to whether they tried it or they haven't tried it. So that's really where our sweet spot is. It's not really, what DOVU isn't, we're not an API sort of a marketplace for data that we're just gathering data and then, putting it in the warehouse and reselling it. We're really about creating some new data points and encouraging people to, experiment and trial new forms of mobility, but also educating and informing and encouraging people to use the new technologies that are coming out, such as your battery on your electric vehicle. How should you charge it? Where's the best place to charge it? Can you be encouraged to charge it off-peak as opposed to on-peak? And if 10 people in the same zone want to charge it all in the same charging point, encourage people to try a different zone. So all of those creates new data points, and that's really what DOVU is about.
So one of the kind of biggest conversations in mobility at the moment is about multimodal, and you've obviously kind of touched on that in your previous answers. At the moment, you've focused on the auto industry to start DOVU. Are you looking to build those partnerships to move into, say, bike sharing, scooters and these weird and wonderful combinations that are coming out.
Yeah, so if you look at the sort of history of DOVU, really, we sort of span out of InMotion Ventures, the sort of the venture arm with Jaguar Land Rover. So it was a natural home for us, really, just to work with the OEMs. And you know, as you said, we did a pilot with BMW, and we've got multiple other sort of pilots and projects with other OEMs that we're working on. So what's interesting about that, however, is if you just follow the investment of the OEMs, then you'll find yourself in multimodal sort of industries. So you know, you just take a look at what all of these OEMs have been invested in, whether that's lift, whether that's you know, public transport, you know, bikes, the whole range. So if you're going to offer a multimodal service, sometimes it's a good point to start with the OEMs, and then you can sort of you know, work by, certainly with our solution, where you're looking to redeem the tokens that you earned across a multimodal service, and you can do that within the ecosystem that's already been created. Having said that, you know, we are in the early stages of working with one US state and 5 cities within that state on using the token as a way of encouraging not only the sharing of data for your transport, but also encouraging, you know, as a citizen of that state, you know, places to park, times of the day to use your journey, you know, and encouraging different modes of transport for those citizens as well, because it is a challenge trying to get US citizens out of the car, and so again, anything that can be done to sort of nudge that is going to be sort of useful. So yeah, we started with the OEMs, we'll continue with the OEMs and the multimodal investments that they're sort of making, but also separately start to experiment with smart cities.